Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Tharries podcast. Once again, I'm joined by a very special guest. This time, I'm joined by Quinton Reviews.
Hey, hi, hello. That's my name. Wear it out if you'd like. That's good for branding.
Fair enough. How are you doing, man?
I'm having a pretty good day. Yeah, I just had some soup, which is why I was late.
That's all right.
Yeah.
That's all right. I just had some Oreos before we started, so you can
Yeah.
tell the difference in our snacks.
Yeah, and I forgot how long it takes to eat soup.
Yeah,
'Cause
it is.
at
quite
some
a
point
long
you hit-
process.
At some point, you hit the broth, and you're like, I gotta drink a bunch of the broth to get some more of the soup.
Yeah.
So that's why I was so late. I was like, how quickly can I rush the act of soup eating?
That's
So
fair
now that
enough.
we've properly enthralled our guests, I suppose we should jump right into the hot stuff.
Yeah, that's all right, man. So, obviously, hopefully they haven't already gone if audience retention numbers or anything to go by, but we should be okay.
Okay.
So, starting off then, why don't you tell us a bit about your channel? For people who aren't aware, especially, it might be handy.
Oh. Well, my name is Quinton Hoover. I run a channel called Quinton Reviews. I started the channel back in 2016. The idea was just to, review things, TV shows, movies, and I branched out and tried to, change up the formula. If you were gonna watch any of my videos to sort of understand what I do, I would suggest the History Channel videos I did, just sort of breaking down what happened to that station and, the different weird ways that it conveys inaccurate information. But I like to mix up what I do, so, I don't know if I could, other than the fact that I quote review things, I don't know if you could say that I have a consistent gimmick every week, but
That's fair enough. I think the
Yeah.
way I've always thought of your channel is that it consists of the stuff that everyone else is too scared to talk about in fear of it not getting views. I think that's like the way I like to describe it, because it's like it's the obscure stuff that I almost, to a certain extent wish I had the balls to talk about. So I really do admire you for that. Like, for example, obviously this is predominantly a Doctor Who show. Shocking for a Doctor Who channel, I know. But obviously you've done stuff on the BBV videos.
Yeah,
I wouldn't
yeah.
have the courage to try and present that to my audience, because I just don't think the audience would be there. I have a difficult time getting my audience to watch classic Who videos, so the idea of them getting them to watch something that's not even, technically in the sphere would be like very difficult, at least.
Yeah, well, and to be fair, I think I've successfully made one interesting video about that. I don't think any of my other videos about that are very good.
Yeah, I
But
think I've watched all of them, to my knowledge.
Yeah, I rewatched that the other day, the Doctor Who knockoffs video, and I'm pretty proud of that. Yeah, I mean,
It's one of
there's
my
some
favorites
audio
of mine.
issues. I was having a lot of audio issues starting then and for the next year, so there's some weird technical pops and stuff. But other than that, I like the fast pace of that one, and I look pretty hot in that video. So
I'm not gonna say I never noticed any issues with it, like audio or otherwise. So it's definitely one of my favorites. Obviously, as someone, I'll be honest, I didn't even really know much about the BBV pictures or the real time pictures until that video. So you taught me about something about Doctor Who that I didn't know, which was a wonderful experience to have, because I think everyone within that specific community, all the voices become homogenous in a way. We all end up talking about the same things, so it was really refreshing actually to watch a video that just was completely unrelated to anything else anyone was talking about at the time, and I think it was really resonated with me for that reason.
I'm pretty proud of the fact that whenever I see that topic broached in like a Doctor Who Reddit, people quickly mention my video. I like to think it's pretty cool that a lot of people consider that video to be like an expert introduction to that weird secondary incest branch of Doctor Who history. Yeah, because I mean, there was just a Doctor Who novel based on Cyberon that I've read a little of, and I like it, but I saw a lot of people, mentioning my video and being like, "Ooh, I don't know about this," Go on.
Yeah, no, no, that's all right. I was just listening, and there was a quick cut in the audio on my end, but I think it'll probably be fine in editing. It's just the fact that like I couldn't hear you for a brief second. Discord is weird, man. It's like it works until you really need it to work, and then it stops working. It's very strange. But no, I'm glad we brought up that video, because that was kind of going to be like, obviously that's I think in terms of Doctor Who videos, one of the main ones that people know you for. That, and obviously is Series 11 bad video as well.
Oh yeah, well I don't think that one broke 100K, so I mean I'd say my Doctor Who knockoff video is more well known.
I would probably say so. Like,
yeah,
no,
I do have two more I do have two more Doctor Who videos in the works, but I just don't know when I'm gonna get to them. One of them I promised at the start of this year, and the other one I'd like to be the first video I do next year.
Is one of them the Series 12 video?
No, I don't think I'll do a video on Series 12. I mean,
can you give us an exclusive insight into your thoughts? Like here, I guess?
Okay, yeah, I can do that. I feel weird about Jodie Whittaker because it's not my thing. But apparently kids love it, and yeah. I feel like I don't like where the new producer is taking it, or is that the term you'd use, or executive producer?
I guess showrunner is the sort of
showrunner's the term. I don't really like where he's taken it. Every time I watch an episode he's written, I get the feeling that he just hasn't watched Doctor Who in a while. Like when I watched the Master thing, I was like, he has not watched Doctor Who since like Matt Smith took over, and now he's running the show. You know, we're all gonna die. But I can understand how someone else likes it, but it's not my thing, and I feel bad because I don't want to vocally like make any storm for anyone or anything, because I know like Jodie gets a lot of harassment and stuff, and there's a lot of like overt racists in the Doctor Who community who are like, well, I don't like season 11 and 12 because it's forced diversity. It's like, shut the fuck up, man. Yeah, sorry.
That's fair enough. Obviously,
it's like, will you stop being a racist so I can dislike things? Because with you being a racist in the same space where I'm disliking something, it makes it seem like I'm endorsing you being a racist.
This is the thing that I find, is that there is a weird thing in the community at the moment where it's like you can't criticize it without being, harassed, like, for being something that you're not. And I think that's something that I really sort of have grown to dislike about the wider community in general, is that, like, not even just from a race aspect, but like, I remember advertising one of I did a Timeless Child video essay where I didn't think it worked. Something to the effect of how being the Timeless Child makes Doctor Who a god. I said Doctor Who because, search terms. I know it's called the Doctor. I'm not that much of a normie, but... Well,
I'll have you know, TV comic, TV action, the TV action comics are canon. And in those comics, he's living at an address, and his name is he clearly goes by the alias Doctor Who. It's what's on the envelopes that get delivered to that house.
But could he be using it as a pseudonym, you think?
Yeah, he could just been using, he said first name Doctor, last name Who. Well, I'm living on Earth in the 70s. That's clearly what it is. And those, specifically the TV action Doctor Who John Pertwee comics, the retcon that he has like a house that he lives in, is referenced. That home makes a ton of cameos in other Doctor Who media. It's like the Seventh Doctor visits that home in the novels, then the novels get referenced by Big Finish, and then there was a Titan comic where the Eighth Doctor goes back to that house, and you can actually like compare the art, and it's the same damn house. It's like been traced over.
Wow, I had no idea about this. I had no idea.
So I mean, that's just a great example of like how interconnected secondary Doctor Who media is.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I try and absorb as much of the secondary Doctor Who media as I can. I'd really like to get into the Virgin New Adventures, because obviously there was a lot of discussion around that when that plot twist was made in Series 12, and I want to actually do a video comparing them side by side, but then I went on eBay to look at some of the prices. You've seen how much Lung Barrow's going for these days? Jeez.
Well, yeah, it was always that expensive because they didn't print that many copies, because what happened was I can't remember quite what it was, but according to the story I understand, the novels are one of the main reasons that Doctor Who came back, because they canceled Doctor Who. BBC thought it was a joke, and then they started making these novels, and they wanted to renew their contract. And so they went to the BBC and said, hey, we're making a lot of money off of these books. And the BBC said, wait, you are? So the BBC promptly canceled the contract, started making their own books, and then started trying to make a movie. And so that's those last two novels were extraordinarily limited in release. And it was actually considered controversial when they did the 1/8 Doctor book. They were like, we don't know if they're just gonna like ignore this.
Yeah.
But of course, then, I mean, the novels have become sort of essential to the whole lore because Bernice Summerfield was introduced there, who then became, like BBV, she became one of those characters that you could license without having a license to Doctor Who.
Yeah.
And so Big Finish started doing Bernice Summerfield audio stories without any Doctor Who characters or anything. And it was and when they showed the BBC, like, look how we're making a good amount of money on Bernice Summerfield, they said, okay, well, you can do some Doctor Who stuff here. And
the rest is
history.
Yeah. No,
but it is interesting how it almost seems like Chibnall. Is that how you say his name?
I just say Chibnall, but you can say it however.
Yeah. It's almost as if he read Lungbearer. He came up with a headcanon for how it's canon, and then he became the showrunner for Doctor Who exclusively to make his like 12-year-old headcanon real.
Yeah, I mean, I've always thought that he at least took some inspiration from it, like as a kid. Like, it's just been in his, like, at least subconsciously, if not, an active, like, volition on his part to actually enforce that. But I think where a lot of people take issue with that is that it kind of runs counterclockwise to everything the new series is set up. So,
oh yeah, absolutely. I don't doubt you. Like I said, I have a strong feeling he has not watched Doctor Who. I mean, my key piece of evidence that he has not watched Doctor Who is he says in the Master two-parter, the Master says, I went to the pocket dimension where Gallifrey is hidden, and I destroyed Gallifrey. And immediately I wanted to jump up and be like, why weren't you watching the fucking show? It's not in a pocket dimension. What are you talking about? Did you not see, like, any of the Capaldi? Like, you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
It's not in a... They moved it out of the pocket dimension and into the future in one of the episodes, which makes sense.
Because
I mean,
Capaldi breaks out
cut.
of his confessional and finds it again. So it's not technically... hidden anymore.
it's hidden in the future, which is a good retcon because, as we know from extended canon, deep cut here, but we do know that Time Lords are forbidden to go more than like a certain amount of distance into the future.
But even in that regard as well, like, there's the fact that with Gallifrey, like, even if, say, the seal was still in place, are you telling me it just takes some extra TARDIS turbulence to break that? Is that like what is you know what I mean? It's just say that lock was even in place, it surely can't be that easy to break through it. Because, like, if you see it at the end of that episode, all it takes is the TARDIS to just sort of fly a bit faster and it's through. And you're like, okay, well, what was the point of the lock if it could just be broken that easily? You know?
Oh, I do want to say real quick, I want to add on that I want to give, like, slight praise to the Timeless Child. Because I think he went in. It's like, it's weird because it's half praise and half criticism. I think he went in knowing that he was making a retcon so colossal that it was going to make a lot of people mad.
Yeah.
And so I went in, and as soon as they made the twist, I was pissed off. And then they spent the next, I felt like 10 minutes convincing you, like, oh, well, it doesn't really matter. This doesn't change
because at the
anything.
end, the Roof Doctor's like, this doesn't change who you are,
Yeah, it's all the same.
Have you ever let it, conquer who you are before, or whatever the line is, basically? And she's like,
yeah,
you're
and
right.
it's like somehow that settled me down. I know this isn't universal, but I was like, okay.
I think that's probably
I guess
intentional on his part.
You've convinced me the retcon does not matter, and thus I'm kind of fine with it now.
But then,
here's the catch.
Yeah.
Here's the catch. I'm only fine with it if I literally never have to hear about it again. If they dedicate one more episode to this stupid shit, I'm gonna hate the show.
Yeah.
And you know this is gonna last until 2023. You know this is set up for the anniversary special.
Yeah,
and
I really don't want the anniversary to be
care.
I don't want the anniversary to be about this, because a lot of people criticize the 50th for basically being, New Who the episode, rather than, 50-year exploration of their history. So if you do a 60th that's entirely dedicated to a Chibnall era story arc, a lot of people are going to be mad at that in particular. But also, what gets to me is when certain fans of this era will say, well, you know, Moffat relied too heavily on lore-based stuff. And then Chibnall does an entire episode based on a lore extension, and they all love it, and you're like, can't
yeah, he does an entire retcon based around a throwaway scene in a Tom Baker episode
that
and
they even
a
show
novel,
on screen.
a novel from the 90s, and that's like his entire era's dedication. And literally, it's like it's a retcon that anyone who hasn't watched the classic series won't give a shit about.
No.
Because it's like, if you watch the new series, it's almost like you can pretend that it's like, okay, there were a bunch of doctors behind 9, but it's nothing concrete in my mind, you know?
You could just
so him being like,
well,
there's not 9 previous doctors, there's 24. You're like, okay, why are you acting like that's a twist? I do not give a shit, you know?
They only care about the ones that they know, so why would you bother adding to things that they already don't know or care about? I agree.
And let's point this out. Let's point this out. The Timeless Child episode, from what I remember, isn't it the lowest rated episode in the modern series? Didn't it get like 4 million viewers?
Yeah,
in England?
It is, as far as I'm aware, the lowest viewed episode of at least the revival's history. I'm not sure.
And that's getting pretty close to Battlefield Part 1, I think.
Exactly.
Which is that was 3 million views, and it got the show canceled.
Here's the thing: what people will say is, "Oh, it's natural for TV shows to degrade over time in terms of viewer figures." My response to that would be, the whole point of this new era and throwing a bunch of money at it was, "Oh, Peter Capaldi is losing viewers. Let's bring in new Doctor and get the viewers up again." So we're already back where we were in like Series 10, because I think that it's comparable, Series 12 and Series 10, in terms of viewing figures. Then the BBC must be going, hang on, we've just spent all this money on this to try and get out of this hole, and now we're back in that same hole. You know, someone must be having that conversation at the BBC.
And I don't think
somewhere.
I don't think modern Doctor Who can be cancelled compared to classic Doctor Who, because it's not just a TV show, it's an international
brand.
It's an international, what do you call it? It's more than just a TV show. There's so much merchandise. It's an international merchandise machine that they have to keep it going, just in order to make sure that, like, you know, like, kids are buying the 13th Doctor t-shirts, and like adults are buying the Doctor Who action figures, that kind of stuff. But
that makes sense.
It is insanely bad for the brand for the next 3 years to be dedicated to a plot twist that really no one's even talking about anymore.
No, like,
in the lowest rated episode of the modern series.
I think, though, it kind of says a lot about how little, like, general audiences care about lore-based stuff, when, you know, this big thing that they were riding on in the marketing. I don't know whether you pay attention much to the Series 12 marketing, but a lot of it was, stick around to the finale where we're going to reveal the special twist, and no one in general audience cared. Like, no one did.
My favorite jokes in the Moffat era were episodes where they were just like, the lore doesn't matter. It's just fun. Like, there was an episode where the 12th Doctor is implicitly given the chance to deny that he's half human, as a reference to the TV movie, and he stammers, he stares, and he says, "Doesn't matter."
Yeah.
He said, it's kind of this thought of, like, no answer could satiate the question you're asking.
No, and I think, like, what I think I like about Moffat's approach to lore more than Chibnall's is that he does it in such a way that's, like, playful. Whereas, like, Chibnall, he's made this massive epic about it, and it's like, can you imagine if they took that line about the Doctor being half human and made it into an entire series-long arc? Like, that's basically the equivalent of what we're talking about with the Timeless Child. It's a needless bit of lore extension, and I get the idea of streamlining the lore, but realistically, that wasn't acting as a barrier to entry in the first place. Like, to me, like, that wasn't... I know a lot of people who've jumped on...
Do you know what was stopping me from being a Doctor Who fan?
What was
the fact that the Rowan Atkinson Doctor isn't canon. Like, what the fuck? Yeah, just... What? No, you know, I was going to get into Doctor Who, but I heard Peter Cushing doesn't count. So... Are we gonna get like a 2-season arc explaining Peter Cushing?
Under Chibnall, I think we might. That's the problem. That's the problem that we're facing. Like, I genuinely, it's really strange to me that like one moment, you know, with one writer, people can be, you know, no more law stuff, and then as soon as another writer does it, oh, it's
Like,
great.
woo!
And it's like,
Yeah, this is great.
but it, like, people will say, oh, well, Series 11 didn't have any law in it, so this is fine. It's like, but then how do you feel the Series 11, how do you think the people who joined with Series 11 are going to feel when in Series 12...
11 was like this big jumping on point where I was telling people, like, you can start watching here. Like, that's the point of these kind of things. But now it's like, literally, if you've been watching since Eccleston, you might not understand the twist.
Exactly, and, like, that's a lot for like, general audiences to, like,
I'm also
have to take
majorly disappointed in the characterization.
Of
I mean,
the Doctor
have you
specifically,
thought
or the characters in general?
The characters in general and the companions.
Yeah, the companions.
Have you thought about the fact that at least 2 of the companions are leaving at Christmas?
Yeah.
And they have had almost no development.
Nope,
I mean,
they've had literally nothing.
It reminds me of like in the 60s when a companion would join and you'd kind of like them being on screen, but then they'd be written out of the show. Like Polly and
Ben.
Like Ben and Polly. I don't know why I forgot that.
Yeah, that's
like
all
Ben
right.
and Polly. Like the show doesn't show any respect to Ben and Polly. Like it treats them, and you're supposed to like that they're there, but it barely introduces or gives them an exit.
Yeah, it's
you
just
know?
like, oh,
that's how
Jamie's here,
this set of
we
companions feels.
Better go. Jamie's arrived. Off we go.
I mean,
no,
I'll
agree,
admit it's a little less bad since the last season, but I often would tell people people who would defend the show to me. I'd say like, tell me who Yaz is without using the word cop, and they couldn't do it.
But even the police officer thing, like they say it once in Spyfall Part 1 that, oh Yaz, you can't be a police officer if you're gonna keep leaving, and then it never gets brought up again. She faces no consequences for leaving her post. I mean, granted, you could just say, oh, time travel, but then, like, well, what was the point in introducing that in the first place?
There was an episode where they mentioned that she's, like, on leave or something. But, I mean, the thing for me is it felt like every episode... I feel like he heard criticism that his companions had no development and you couldn't tell them apart and they had no role in the story. And so he started writing all the episodes in Series 12, like, slightly differently, but still totally phony. Yeah. And so every episode in Series 12 is like, there's a bunch of action, so some stuff happens, and then like a long scene of 2 of the companions sitting down and they like look at each other and they go, "We're mates, man. We're mates." And then like more like adventure, and then like quiet moment where he goes, "We're mates, man. We're mates." And it's like, this isn't characterization.
This
isn't
how friendships work. If you have to keep justifying it to yourself, you're probably not friends. But no, like, as well, like, I think he thinks that, oh, if I say they're a family often enough, people will start believing it. It's like, I'm sorry, you've done nothing to convince me of that. Like, you know.
Oh, I also hated the Frankenstein episode, because I feel like it could have been like a Vincent... I don't know, it's just, I walked in thinking, like, this could be Jodie Whittaker's Vincent van Gogh. Yeah. And then I walked out thinking, you've wasted a good idea for a story.
What I will say, I think based on the concept alone, it's probably one of the stronger ones in Series 12, but that isn't really high praise when you consider the rest of what's to offer.
You mean on concept alone as in a Doctor Who episode where they hang out with the writer of Frankenstein? Like, that as a concept is better than anything else in the season? Because I don't think it delivered on that concept very well.
That and the fact that, you know, the house is always morphing around them, and it's like, you know, there's like a Cyberman there. It's more interesting than, say, for example, I don't know, Praxius.
Here's my thing. It's clear that they just needed the Cybermen to be there. They were just like, okay, whatever episode is there has to have the Cyberman for the arc. I think they should have swapped the Frankenstein episode with the Tesla episode.
Right.
I think Tesla fighting a Cyberman would just make more sense. Think about it. If you swapped the aliens for those 2 episodes and put them in the opposite place in the schedule, both episodes are better, because a Tesla episode with a Cyberman makes more sense and is cooler than, you know, a Frankenstein episode with a Cyberman, in my opinion. Well, not just that specific Frankenstein episode. Someone else could have done it well.
Yeah, I think what I would have liked is... Go on. Do you know the house is, like, morphing around kind of in a similar way to, like... Because it's got a perception filter on it. So that's, like, a piece of Time Lord technology. What if it
Yeah.
wasn't a Cyberman, but a Weeping Angel? Because that would give credence to the idea that, oh, maybe Weeping Angels are dead Time Lords, which would explain the perception filter. Like, that would be quite cool, and also it would fit, in terms of, like, thematically and sort of in its presentation, it fits a Weeping Angel far better than it fits a Cyberman, in my opinion. Like, I know that they've done, I think Silver Turk is the story that I think it takes inspiration from. Big Finish story with Mary Shelley and the Cyberman, but like I just feel though if you're going to do a haunted house, you might as well do the villain that's going to fit that setting the most. Even the Silence would have probably fit better because you could have like the companions constantly forgetting which room they're in, which would have been quite cool as well. I just think there's like, you know, if you swapped the villain for someone else, I know that that's the thing because they had to have it tie into the grander arc. I agree with you. I think it hampered that story somewhat. I definitely agree.
I also think the new show has like lost a lot of the excitement by just secluding out old writers. I mean, I know that they need to have a more diversity in the writing room, but just like I think the moment when they started the show, like everyone, both in that group and out of it, was like, we're probably not gonna have any of the old writers back anymore. But do you remember how exciting that was when you'd be like, hey, a Neil Gaiman episode is airing this year, you know?
Because like Neil Gaiman wrote like Doctor's Wife, which is like one of my favorites.
I agree. Probably
Matt Smith
all
era,
time.
like it's up there for like, at least New Who is one of my all time favorites. I think as well another one that really disappointed me was Can You Hear Me? Because one of my favorite episodes is Amy's Choice, the series 5 episode with Toby Evans as the Dream Lord. That is so well done, and it teaches you so much about the characters. And that when they announced that they were going to do a Dream episode, I was like, finally, we're going to learn a bit more about these characters because we can actually see into their minds. And what does the dream sequence amount to? I'll give them credit. The Graham one's okay, where it's like he's in the ward for his cancer and he's got a positive test back and Grace is there. I quite like that one. But Ryan's one was just his friend with some dregs. And what was the other? What was Yaz's dream? I don't even remember what. Oh yeah, it was the.
Well, that's Yaz for you.
It's when we learn about that Yaz had depression the whole time, which was like, as someone who's dealt with it, it's like, surely you would have showed a sign of this at some point before.
Yeah, I mean, clearly, this might seem mean-spirited. People might disagree with me, but I think that's clearly. Every time Yaz does something this season, it doesn't feel legitimate to her character before. No. It feels like Chibnall heard Yaz has no character. No one knows who this person is. You've had her on screen for a whole season. I feel like he heard that, then he was like, well, what if we do an episode where she's depressed? And what if we do an episode where she does her own thing, and then it turns out it meant nothing, and she's upset by that? Like,
yeah. I gotta be honest. My opinion on some of the cast at least has changed somewhat because I used to think it's both a writing problem and an acting problem somewhat, but I do feel more sorry for Jodie Whittaker than I did initially, and the reason for that is because apparently she's lovely from what I'm told because I know people who are extras and stuff. Apparently she's lovely, but like this is the thing, she's being put in a really tough situation. Because obviously she's the first female Doctor, so naturally she was going to be under a lot of scrutiny by certain people. There's the fact that she's being written mediocre stuff, which she's going to bear the brunt of, because obviously, A, Chibnall doesn't make any public appearances, really. He seems to be a hermit when it comes to that sort of thing. And B, obviously, she's the face of the brand. There's also the fact that she's been put with 3 other companions, like, giving her very little to actually work with and actually chew the scenery, which she might be able to do, but I just haven't seen proof of it yet. And yeah, I think it's just one of those situations where everything is working against her, and she's just sort of left to pick up whatever's left, and it's kind of sad, really. But it's a shame because I'm told she's a great actor, but it just because I haven't really seen her in anything else, it just doesn't come across in the performance. It does feel very surface level. It's like all the beats are there, but they just don't quite hit correctly.
Yeah. I mean, also Capaldi is a hard act to follow up on. It does feel a little bit like she's the Colin Baker, where it's just like, in 10 years we'll figure out, there'll be some other thing where you're like, this is so great. Yeah, I mean, if like maybe she gets written by Big Finish in the future, maybe then we'll finally see a version of her character that could work. But I'd like to think I could give the whole cast a chance. I like to just blame the writing because it's easier than saying
that's fair.
This actor's bad.
Because
I mean, you can clearly say that, like, Graham, immediately everyone loved him.
oh yeah,
Like,
because like
everyone-
Bradley Walsh, I was actually the person I was most cautious of was Bradley Walsh. Obviously, as you know, he's quite a big celebrity over here. He does the chase and stuff like that. So I was worried that he was just going to be sort of riding off of that in a way and not actually be that good of an actor in himself. But he turns out to me to appear to be the strongest member of the cast.
It's kind of similar to Nardole, isn't
Yeah,
it? Wasn't he? He's also like a big comedy actor.
Yeah, obviously
and
Matt
he's
Lucas.
Also, like but similarly, the moment he's on the show, it's like that's probably become one of the things he's recognized most for.
Yeah, I have conflicted feelings about Nardole because on the one hand, like he did grow on me, but on the other hand, I do agree with Missy when she basically just says that he's comic relief and nothing more, and I'm just kind of like, yeah, I kind of wish there was a bit more to you than that.
Well, I could agree with that at the start, but I like that throughout Series 10, he evolved to being like the group's Jack Harkness.
Yeah.
Which is both funny and badass. Where he's
Yeah.
like, I love the idea. Like I rewatched like Series 3, and I just think it's stupid how cool everyone's trying to look. Like, oh, we got these long jackets, we're in leather, let's run down hallways in slow motion. It's like, oh, shut up, man. And so I like that Nardole is like equally or more of a badass than Jack, but he's just like, yeah, slippers and pajamas today.
Yeah,
like
he's just super
we're in the
casual with
past. Who's gonna see us?
Part of
You
me
know?
really likes that he acts as the Doctor's mother as well. I kind of like that in like the sense that he's like, no, you can't go there. You know, obviously if he's telling off like a disobedient child. I kind of like that as that slowly evolves. I think my main issue with that TARDIS team in general is just that I never really got attached because we just didn't have them for long enough, in my opinion.
Yeah,
Like-
I mean, that was clearly like a 3-season TARDIS team, and Series 10 is an extra bonus season because Moffat was supposed to be gone by that point, and didn't Chibnall just not want to do it that year? So
Yeah,
Moffat was like, shit,
he
I'll just
didn't-
do a season. And
He
it's his
didn't even
best
want
one.
to do a Christmas episode, which kind of says a lot about obviously where we're at
Yeah.
now. Like
Shouldn't
this is
have
the
like,
thing, we
okay,
still don't even
Moffat's
know.
like, okay, I can do it if you don't want to do it.
we still don't even know when the episode is this year. The festive episode, as they keep dubbing it, because they haven't given us a confirmed air date yet. Could be Christmas, could be New Year, could be, I don't know, like, isn't Chinese New Year in February? It could be any time, we don't know. All it says is festive period, so it could literally be any time in that sort of period, in that sort of Christmassy period.
I just remember what I wanted to talk about. Can we briefly talk about, not about the show, but about the weird direction of the franchise this year?
Yeah, knock yourself out.
Isn't it weird that this year, I mean, first of all, it doesn't even feel like the new season aired this year. It didn't have that much of an impact. Also, 2020 is just long.
Yeah, no,
So
that's the
when
thing.
I say-
It feels like a lifetime ago, doesn't it?
When I say this year, it's almost like, imagine I'm saying 2020 is 2 years, and like January to March is year 1, and then quarantine to now is year 2. So when I say this year, I mean 2020 part 2.
Yeah.
But this year, since the new season, they have like abandoned Jodie Whittaker.
Oh yeah, I'm glad you brought this up because I seem to be a bit controversial in this fact. I'm sick of seeing the 10th Doctor everywhere. It's starting to get on
I am
my-
too. It's like, come on. And then every fucking time, it's always like the David Tennant is back. What do you mean? David Tennant's been back for like 6 months every day. He hasn't left. He can't just be back every week.
But that's the thing, they announced that. The thing that really got to me was that, the thing that like sort of pushed me over the edge to make a little video on this, sort of doing a rant about stop relying on RTD era nostalgia, which is something I'd talked about before on Twitter. I made a whole thread about why it was bad. But that was the thing that finally pushed me over the edge into making a little video about it, was the fact that in the Edge of Reality, the new Edge of Reality game, which I believe is non-VR, at the end, the 10th Doctor appears in silhouette, and he's like, I'm the Doctor, just probably not the one you're expecting, which is like a famous line that Doctors say, but it's like, no, you were the exact one I was expecting, because that...
Always you.
It's just the BBC is almost as if... I get it. I figured this out. It's basically what the original trilogy is to Disney Star Wars, where it's like, Disney is afraid to do anything new in fear of peeing off the fans, and also the fact that like it's that one era of the franchise that everyone can generally agree on that is good. So therefore,
Yeah.
it's the one they lean into the most. It's the same with this.
I get your point. So like the fact that they're always going to sell Darth Vader Oreos, even if they're 17 Darth Vader,
and they're always going to
fail.
sell David Tennant things, even if it's alongside the incumbent one, because it's just the easiest, safest bet. Because it's the one that everyone likes.
I was just thinking about it. Do you know have you thought about how not special it's going to feel when he comes back for the 60th?
No, it's going to be.
It's going to be like, and I bet you it's going to be Matt Smith, David Tennant, and Jodie Whittaker. I bet you that's going to be it.
Most likely, but I'm not even sure about Matt Smith these days, because Matt Smith, obviously, you wouldn't know, but Matt Smith is my favorite personally.
Yeah.
Especially modern, who obviously and overall he is, but I sort of flip flop because I was a McGann #1 person at one point in time, but. Currently I'm an 11 is my favorite, but he is an era that I'm nostalgic for because that was the first one that I watched all the way through, because I started with The Next Doctor, which is a really weird place to start because it has another incarnation of the Doctor who isn't it, and it's a really weird place to start, but I somehow carried on watching after that point, but it's the first one that I watched all the way through, so I have nostalgia for that era, but none of it is catered to. They're missing a golden opportunity. The Russell T Davies era is great, but it's not the only era that people are nostalgic for.
So you think, by virtue of the fact that Chibnall clearly, I mean, as I've said, I don't think Chibnall watched Matt Smith or Peter Capaldi's eras. I think he watched the 50th and hated it. I don't think he's watched much of the show beyond that. You think that because of that, he won't, Matt Smith will get a cameo, but he won't be one of the main doctors?
Either that, or Matt Smith will just be too busy to even show up because he's currently been in the Morbius film, so chances are he could probably be busy. So I could actually see a scenario where it's just 10 and 13 again. And I think if that happened, everyone would just collectively go, no.
This is the time. This is the time where it's most likely for Christopher Eccleston to come back, I guess. First of all, he's doing Big Finish. Second of all, he's clearly very good friends with Jodie Whittaker.
But
and
even
I could imagine him doing it, even just a scene.
But even then, though, it would be the two RTD doctors and the Chibnall Doctor. So you'd have a whole era of the franchise that people are nostalgic for that just would not.
Oh, and
he'd have
Jack Harkness. He'd have Jack Harkness as well. That's undeniable.
Who's another Russell T Davies era character.
Yeah, exactly. And then it would be there's nothing else.
No,
see, I've always thought it'd be funny. Back when I used to see all those Doctor Who Tumblr memes, I always thought it'd be really funny if we had this unique aesthetic of modern series Doctor Who and Colin Baker. That's what I always thought they should do.
That would be really weird and interesting.
This is gonna sound mean, but I always feel like every one of those meta crossovers needs your Spider Pig. And I guess Colin Baker is a bit of the Spider Pig just by virtue of people being who is this?
Yeah, he's kind of the weird, strange one that we sort of
And I think a lot of people agree because when you saw that lockdown skit with all the impersonators, who saved the day? It was the Colin Baker impersonator.
And also, that impersonator was probably one of the better ones, I think I would argue.
Yeah, I mean, Colin Baker does so much stuff that I was actually did Colin Baker actually do this?
And it wasn't, but that's the thing, it was genuinely good. But that's exactly my thing. I have a legitimate fear that all the 50th is going to be is RTD and Chibnall stuff, and that's not celebrating the entire franchise.
Oh, and then worse, the final shot won't be the 14 Doctors or the 15 Doctors, whatever it is. I think it's the 15 or 16 Doctors by this point. But the final shot won't be that. It'll be 300 Doctors.
Oh, no.
Because they'll be covering the Timeless Child, right?
Yeah. Oh, Jesus. Oh God, I think we just created the worst scenario for a 60th anniversary. Just no other doctors but Ted and Jodie until
a doctor that Chibnall makes up for the episode will get more screen time. Well, actually, that's what Moffat did too, so I can't criticize that. I guess that's what the War Doctor is.
But imagine though, I've just thought of this. Imagine if it's Ten, Jodie, and Ruth.
I like Ruth.
I like Ruth, but I
would go as far as to say that if she's not in the 60th, I'll be pissed off, first of all. And second of all, forget her being a previous Timeless Child Doctor. Forget that. Or do a curator thing. I think the Ruth Doctor needs to. I think that actress needs to be the 14th.
Oh,
Doctor.
I agree. I actually, in my Timeless Child video essay, I proposed a scenario if you wanted to retcon, make her not a pre-Hartnell Doctor. What you do is you have the whole thing, the whole, pre-Hartnell Timeless Child shebang, be a ploy by Rassilon to get revenge on the Doctor, because he got exiled in Series 9. And then...
That'd be funny. More like a ploy to get revenge on the Doctor Who fan base for wasting everyone's time.
And the fan base, but also, to the extent, Gallifrey as well, because obviously he knows how unstable the Master is, so it would be, a big plan. And then at the end, Ruth could just get her memory wiped and regenerate, and, Jodie could regenerate into her, and then that explains why they don't recognize each other.
Well, like I said, I think you could do a curator thing, where she just decides to use that face again. But, I mean, she's just so good. She's just so good. Within one scene, I feel like... And I don't like being mean to Jodie. I think she's doing a
I know exactly what you're going to say.
But it's within one scene. The Ruth Doctor convinced me more that she was the Doctor than Jodie Whittaker has in 2 seasons.
I agree. I think that was a very strange move by the team. It's okay, so
they upstaged their own Doctor.
It was we've already got a Doctor that audiences are struggling to connect with. Let's bring in the exact Doctor that all the fans wanted Jodie to be. That'll solve it. It's what? what are you doing? It's don't get me wrong, I don't blame Joe Martin for this. I think Joe Martin generally is as you said, she convinced me.
You can't blame an actress for doing that good of a job.
No, that's what I mean. That's why I'm not. But I agree with you that she convinced me more in one scene than Jodie has across 2 series.
And I don't want to be mean. I always do these tweets that are like every Doctor has done the role in a way that's special and makes you think they're the Doctor. And then I did a tweet like that, and someone said, well, Jodie hasn't for me. And I said, well, she hasn't for me either. But at this point, I just don't want to be mean to her,
And
I don't want to be a dick.
That, if you do that, then obviously, as we've said, the fandom is very quick to label people. So all of a sudden, you'll be a Not My Doctor or something like that. And it is one of those weird things where it's I'm kind of known for being controversial because the far pro ones don't like me because obviously I'm not a huge fan of the current era. But the Not My Doctors don't like me either because I've completely disavowed them. And I even made it, this will make you laugh, I made it onto a Not My Doctor hit list. Literally, a person got into one of their little group chats, and they said, okay, who do we need to watch out for? And my name was on there, and I shit you not, that was one of the proudest moments I've ever had. It's yes.
Oh, that's awesome. I mean, that's where you gotta, that's the kind of list you want to be on.
It was a great list.
But I feel exhausted with the show. I want to like it so much, and it's gotten to the point that when I see memes, you see those memes on Twitter and Tumblr and stuff. Where it's they take screenshots from Doctor Who and they add captions from somewhere else, or they make up jokes, and it's I like those way more than I like the show.
That's what's depressing,
when I see someone take a quote from Community and put it over screenshots of Jodie Whittaker and Yaz, I like that more than the writing on the show. And I want to like it so bad.
I think what depresses me as well is because obviously I spend quite a lot of time trying to engage with the community and stuff, and you see how talented some of them are, and you see some of the stuff that they make up and create, and you're just why can't the show do this? This, there's some title sequences. I know you're a fan of the title sequence. Personally, for me, I know that a lot of the 60s comparison comes up quite a bit when discussing the new one. My opinion with that is that what makes the 60s ones work is its simplicity. When you add a bunch of CGI and stars and effects over it, it just loses its appeal. I think it's the same reason why people generally think that the John Pertwee title sequence isn't as effective as the 60s one. Because you bring colour into it, and it kind of ruins the mystique of it. And I think it's kind of the same with the Whittaker one, but obviously blown up into HD proportions, I guess. But you see some of the fan title sequences people make, and you're how is this better? How is this superior to something that a £1 million company came up with? It baffles me. It's bizarre.
it's very much. I have this desire to be into the show. I have this desire to like it. I mean, weird things piss me off. It's weird that they haven't just. I don't know. It's weird that they went in this direction where they were like, how do I put this? It's an opinion I have strong feelings about. It's very strange that the Doctor was a character for, 55 years.
Yeah.
Who was a man and was never gay once. But then, now that the character is regenerated into a woman, they won't make the character attracted to women. Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
You
well,
know,
they're sort of vaguely hinting at a thing with...
Just
with
make
Yaz
the character gay. Just make the Doctor gay, please.
I'm of the opinion, personally, I'm one of those people, I'm one of those, like, people who agree with the classic Who lot, that the Doctor isn't really a sexual beast in general, because I don't like it with 10, so I probably wouldn't like it with 13 either, regardless of...
I agree, but it's just... The only reason I brought it up is because it was like, they did a little... Doctor on Master shit there, and I was
I think what
just
would make
the
it
Doctor
worse,
gay.
I think what would make it worse though is if they're like, because they have been implying it with like Yaz saying, there's this one person who I really like or whatever, and it's like they've been like hinting it slowly, and obviously the shippers have had their part to play in that. But like if they then like say it but then don't show it, that would be even worse. Like if they say, oh yeah, this is a thing, but then do what so many other companies do where they like cut off before they kiss or something like that, that would be like, I think even more insulting, in my opinion, if they did it but then didn't make it explicit. If you're going to do it, go the whole way with it, but I prefer not doing anything romantic at all, but like that's just me.
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I generally agree I don't like it, but it's clearly, as a Russell T Davies fan, it's clearly not an opinion that Chibnall would share. And I don't know, I just... are you excited for Rose to come back inevitably, by the way? Because I'm sure that's going to happen in the next 5 years.
Funnily enough, I did a little thing on a... Because a tweet came out saying that... quoting a news article saying that Rose would still be in love with the Doctor, Jodie Whittaker's Doctor.
Yeah.
And I said why that kind of doesn't work, because her bond is very specific to that incarnation of the Doctor, to 10. Because she wasn't in love with 9 necessarily. Like, there was hints of that there, but it wasn't ever fully fledged. So if you remove that from being a 10th Doctor exclusive thing, you kind of, by extension, make that era of the show feel a lot less special and unique. And a lot of the people who, who really like that angle are going to be like, well, what makes the Meta Crisis Doctor and their dynamics so special if they're still in love? You kind of get... I don't know, I'm sort of rambling, but you kind of get my...
I mean, Chibnall's the kind of guy where if he brought Rose back for an episode, he'd kill the Meta Crisis Doctor. That's the kind of guy he is.
Oh, no.
Like, I'm right. That's the kind of thing he would do.
Yeah, because it would be shocking, wouldn't it? It would be like, oh, not the Meta Crisis, and then Rose would be there
I
crying.
remember him from 15 years ago,
Oh my god, imagine if that was in the 60th as well. We're just composing the worst idea for the 60th.
Yeah, I mean, that's just how I feel with so much of that when you do that. Oh, I remember this from 15 years ago, yeah. Let's bring back the Dalek human guy. Let's bring him back.
Can you imagine? And he's still got the same Brooklyn accent that he had. That would be so good.
Doctor! I don't actually remember it that well.
Yeah, he has like a bit of it, but it's like also a bit slimy, so it's like, it's very strange. But I do think the concept was cool, it just wasn't executed very well. But no, I agree with you in the sense that, like, they brought back Captain Jack.
I'm sorry, I just thought about it for a second. They were like, let's do a human Dalek. Oh shit, that sounds so cool. And then they get it, and it's like a James Bond suit, and then just a squid on his head.
Yeah.
It's like, oh fuck, what have we done?
Yeah, it is like really strange.
Didn't they sell masks of that? You can buy that, right?
Wait,
on eBay?
Can you? I've never seen it.
I'm confident that I've seen like I Hate Everything wear a Dalek Con mask or whatever the character was.
I don't remember that. That's really weird.
God.
But then again, in the Russell T Davies era, they did make merchandise out of everything. Like, there was generally, like, I think, a destroyed Cassandra figure, which is basically...
Oh, yeah, and it was just, they just scooped out... It was just four strips of... You can make that out of dental floss.
It's literally just a lump of skin with a hole in it. That's all it was. You're just like... Fair enough. I mean, it obviously worked because, like,
and it's weird because for 3 or 4 years they made an action figure out of every character who ever appeared on the show. And then suddenly they were like, we only make 3 action figures a year, and most of them are recycled from all those secondary characters you didn't buy.
Yeah, like
so you look at, like, they released like a Romana figure and a Yaz figure this year that have the same body because they stole it from a different action figure.
Yeah. And here's the thing as well, actually, about that. They released a Friends and Foe of the 13th Doctor set 1, which is Ryan, Yaz, and Jadoon. And then they announced another Friends of the 13th Doctor set, Friends and Foe of the 13th Doctor set, so everyone thought, oh, maybe we get the Master, or the Roof Doctor, or Lone Cyberman, whatever. No, what they decided to do is release Ryan and Yaz again, but in a different costume, and you're like,
wow, yeah.
Okay, and you don't even get a Jadoon with it this time either, so it's like, you're just getting cheated at that point, because it's literally just a repaint, and you're like, okay. Also, I find it really weird that if you're going to have, like, 4 companions, why is there not a set with them all in it? Why are they sold separately? Yeah. It's really weird. It's like, you've got one lone Graham on his own, and then you've got Ryan and Yaz, and then you've got Doctor. Like, why don't they have one collective set, and like a TARDIS or something? It's just, I think the everything in terms of merchandise and marketing has just been so bad for this year.
Yeah, no,
like,
I absolutely agree.
It's like,
the
Series 11...
The character options toys haven't been good since 11th Doctor.
No,
let's be honest.
I mean,
I didn't buy a 12th Doctor until like the final year.
I literally, actually, because I'm getting back into figure collecting slowly. I bought a 12 like a few like months ago off eBay, because up until that point I basically just had, they released in the Matt Smith era for like the 50th, they released like an 11 Doctors set, which had like the first 11, and like obviously now that I'm building up a collection, I wanted 12. And obviously I've got 13 as well.
They released the final year. They released an 11th Doctor figure that was like, it had like 3 heads, and one was the final Matt Smith costume, the purple costume.
Yeah.
Then you could swap it out to have the old man Matt Smith head,
and
then you could swap it out to have the Peter Capaldi head, and that's the best Peter Capaldi figure. Just the wrong costume. On a head that at least looks like Peter Capaldi, and I guess and it also included a handles toy where he could hold handles, and that's like the last like super good Doctor Who character actions figure, and it must have bankrupted them because they haven't had a good one since.
It's always baffled me that they didn't push, like, because like handles, you could have him like be an interactive toy where like you ask it a question and it says something, like, you know what I mean, like one of those sort of.
Like a magic 8-ball,
yeah. It could do that.
I mean, that episode is another one that should have just been half a season. But clearly,
but the problem with that, though, was more the fact that Matt Smith all of a sudden said he was leaving, so I don't really blame Moffat as much for that, like some people do. Some people are like, oh, but he wrapped all his arcs up in one story. It's like, yes, because he had to. He had no choice if he could.
I do think it's cool that when you go back and watch the 11th hour, there's a character talking about what happens in that episode. Like, stuff like that's cool. It's a cool vision, even if it doesn't pay off.
My opinion, Series 5 is everything that Series 11 wanted to be. Like, Series 5 does a fresh start series like perfectly, because
Stephen Moffat with Series 5 and 6 literally made Doctor Who bigger than it's ever been.
Yeah,
people don't mention that, but I mean, I remember Series 5 aired. It was a niche thing. We had to watch the episode by downloading torrents on Pirate Bay. Well, it wasn't Pirate Bay. It was like Demon Tree or something like that. And that's how we watched the show. And then suddenly, like when Series 6 was airing, they shot an episode in Utah, and then I saw ads for it everywhere. And it felt like the next week, everyone knew what Doctor Who was in America. That's how Doctor Who became a thing in America. It was the 6th season.
Yeah, because fun fact, I actually, in 2012, I had to get surgery over in America. Because obviously I was a kid at the time, so St. Louis Children's Hospital I was at. And they do this thing now where it's like, do you want any toys from the toy bit? And I naively forgot that I was in America, and I said, have you got any Doctor Who stuff? And the lady, I shit you not, looked at me like I was some sort of alien. It was like no one knew who it was, but that just shows the impact that, like, that obviously that early Series 6 stuff, and obviously particularly the 50th, I saw a lot of BBC America ads pop up for like that sort of 2013 where the brand was just everywhere and you had the 50th and Matt's regeneration, and it was just a massive year for the show in general. So like it must have just like, at least in some places in America, just kicked off right after I left the States.
Yeah, I mean it was a big damn thing, and 2012, 2013 it became, I guess, a huge phenomenon. And I mean, I think that's the reason, the fact that the show is still going even though the ratings are bad, that you should probably thank Moffat for that. I mean, because Moffat made it an international phenomenon for the first time, I think really ever. And now the show just can't end.
It became very fashionable, particularly in the late years, to rag on Moffat quite a bit. And don't get me wrong, I take part in it because I'm going to throw a controversial opinion at you. I think the 12th Doctor's era is massively overrated by fans to a certain extent. Like, obviously, in terms of general audiences, it's underrated, but in terms of fans, I feel like they feel a compulsive need to defend Capaldi's Doctor because it's Peter Capaldi, not forgetting that at least, Series 8 was hit or miss, but Series 9, I think, is garbage, and it's like my second least favorite series.
Here's the reason I think it happens so much in the fan base, is because we saw these Peter Capaldi episodes, and we were like, okay, this is like, we understand what they're going for here, but this is not quite hitting it. And then we saw Chibnall run in, having not watched a single damn minute, and say, I'm going to take... He was going to the press saying, I'm taking Doctor Who to places it's never been before, according to what I've seen, because I haven't watched the show. I'm taking Doctor Who to places it's never been before. And then he did all the concepts that Moffat did, but really, really badly. And so now we all look back and we're like, all those Moffat episodes were amazing compared to like Series 11 and 12. And I hate... Like, stuff ticks me off that he's like... I feel like if you would interview Chibnall and be like, what in Series 12 is, quote, the thing Doctor Who has never done before, he would be like, I mean, we have an episode where a plane crashes, And it's like, well, yeah, that was... Moffat did that better, And, I mean, here's another core piece of evidence I have that Chibnall has not watched the show.
Yeah.
One of my core pieces of evidence is the fact that he clearly missed the River Song arc.
Yeah.
Where it's revealed that she's a Time Lord because Time Lord genetics is like a natural evolution that's caused by exposure to the time vortex, which makes sense because we also know from the new series that the Tempered Schism are like openings on Gallifrey to the time vortex
that people look into and become Time Lords.
And so the retcon is that caused genetic evolution on Gallifrey to make the Time Lord race, and that's why River Song is a Time Lord, because she was conceived in the time vortex. Chibnall didn't know that was the twist. He didn't, because he didn't watch the show. I feel strongly about this. Yeah. And so now it's retconned that the Time Lord DNA comes from the Doctor's DNA, which means that the only way that can make sense is either the Moffat era takes place in an alternate universe, or River Song is the Doctor's child.
Or the Chibnall one does. Chibnall one takes... Because that was a theory that I saw put up by people, is that as soon as like Jodie falls, she doesn't fall onto our Earth, so everything that we see takes place on an alternate universe, because obviously the TARDIS is like messed up and stuff.
Broken. I guess that would make sense. Clearly not what they're doing.
But I don't
every
think
fan theory that explains every fan theory that explains the fact that he hasn't watched the show is like totally makes sense, and then like a short story in a Doctor Who annual debunks it. Like that's how it goes.
Remember when everyone said, "Oh yeah, the Master is pre-Missy," and then they released an annual recently that said that he was post.
Yeah, and there's also a Doctor Who Big Finish audio, but it's just like, I'm just so tired.
I mean, to be fair, I don't mind the Master being post. I'll be honest, because I know a lot of people really like the character development of Missy, but I think the way I've always thought of it is just that as soon as the Master found out about the Timeless Child, he just reverts back to the way he was. Although it doesn't explain the line in the Timeless Children where he's like, there's not a better nature to me. It's like, well, yeah, there is. We saw it like a series ago.
Well, he wrote, that really pissed me off. There's no good in me. And once again, Chris Chibnall has not watched Doctor Who. I know I keep saying this, but it pisses me off because it's so obvious. He's
like
not watched Doctor Who. He saw like the 11th hour. He says, this isn't how I would make Doctor Who, so he stopped watching. He saw the 50th anniversary special, and he said, if I was ever Doctor Who showrunner, I would undo that. and then he watched no other Doctor Who since then. It's very clearly what it is if you watch the episodes.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. I think like it's always been odd to me how, as I said, like people at the moment, like there's this weird thing, particularly I've noticed on Twitter, in Doctor Who Twitter specifically, where it's like, oh yeah, let's spread positivity. And don't get me wrong, I'm all for spreading positivity, but I don't think vilifying things that disagree with you is the right course of action either. Because, like, the way I describe Doctor Who Twitter at the moment, it's kind of like, do you know the Happiness Patrol? The Sylvester McCoy story, where everyone's got this really, like, thinly veiled idea of what happiness is. That's what it's like to be. Or alternatively, Smile in Series 10, where you're forced to smile even if you're not happy because the robots can't tell what your emotion is. That's what it feels like, because I remember when people were complaining about the recent Doctor Who Comic-Con panel. I don't know whether you saw it. It was like New York Comic Con. It was a digital panel thing about Doctor Who, like the future of it and Revolution of the Daleks and whatever. Literally, all we get at it is two images. One of them is the companion sat around a table. I shit you not, that's one of the images. And
that reminded me of I did a video about hunting Hitler.
Yes, I saw that.
There's a scene where where someone brings them like a photo of Mo Howard and tells them it's Adolf Hitler, and that's exactly what that image looks like. But go on.
But yeah, it's literally, one of the images is a companion sat around a table, and the other is admittedly a cooler one with Jodie in prison, and she's in like prison garb, but she's got like markings on the walls and stuff. It's quite you know, that one's quite good. But like two images, and we're supposed to be like 2 months, you know, away from this special coming out.
Oh my God, we are, aren't we? It's 2 months to Christmas, which means it's moved 2 months.
So naturally, people got peed off that, oh, wait, what the hell? You bigged up this Comic-Con panel talking about the future of Doctor Who, and you gave us two images? And then I see tweets being like, oh, this fandom is never appreciative for anything. It's like, well, no, it's like, I think you have a right to be pissed off if, like, a thing is, like, 4 weeks away, or no, 8 weeks away, what am I doing? 8 weeks away, and, like, literally all we get is two images, and we don't even get an air date. Like, that's the bare minimum you could have given us. And I get the pandemic is, like, making all the broadcasters go, oh, when do we put things? It's like, well, if you haven't got anything to put on Christmas Day, then it's probably the best place to put it. But, like, I don't know, because apparently what we're getting on Christmas Day over here is, like, Strictly Come Dancing reruns. Like, that's what we're getting, which is
just start making
depressing.
Animated Who episodes. There's clearly like there's a reconstruction team.
Just bring back the Eighth Doctor, damn it.
Yeah, I can understand. There's just a lack of excitement, and it feels like the show had a whole new season this year, but like no one cares about it. To the point that the whole franchise is invested in making new Tenet episodes.
I heard someone describe it as a half series, and I think that's quite an accurate way to describe Series 12. It doesn't feel like a whole thing. It feels like a half step, but go on.
Yeah, it reminds me of like Series 7 Part 1.
Yeah.
I mean, it was what, 11 episodes, but it feels like the same amount of episodes.
It wasn't even that. It was like 10, and we're like getting the Christmas one in, well, Christmas hopefully. But yeah, go on.
Oh, well, I wanted to say, I mentioned earlier that David Tennant is being treated like he's the Doctor right now. And
yeah,
it's just
he
getting
basically
boring.
is.
And I talked about this on Twitter, but I was really annoyed that they did like a Pudsey Doctor Who plush for charity.
Yes.
And like the 10th Doctor is Pudsey, and then the 13th Doctor is a female bear I've never heard of. And maybe over there the female Pudsey is a big deal, but I mean, I know who really Pudsey is, and I'm American. So why can't they just both be Pudsey, you know?
Not even just that, though. Why do we need a 10th Doctor Pudsey? The 10th Doctor is not the Doctor.
I mean, I'll admit, and I think 10th Doctor merchandise is passé. I tried to buy it. I can't because they don't ship to America, which sucks. But I tried to buy it, so I understand, okay? You know, you're trying to raise for charity, but make them both Pudsey. You know?
Yeah. Or, like, the thing that gets me as well, and this will make you laugh, they literally did a Roblox thing. And guess which two Doctors they chose?
Was it 10 and 13?
It was 10 and 13, and you're like, Jesus God, not even Pudsey or Roblox can escape your desperation to cling to the 10th Doctor. Can you just...
Well, I mean, I guess you could definitely argue that, like, David Tennant is the one who's, like, ready to go. Because he's the one that's doing Big Finish. Christopher Eccleston is kind of secluded. He's only just barely starting to do stuff.
11 is busy.
And Matt Smith isn't doing Big Finish. he's clearly treating. I mean, he'll do like a charity interview. He'll hang out with people on a Zoom call, but he's not making new stories. And Peter Capaldi is like overtly like, I need. He's like, he overtly said when he left the show, he said, I don't even know if I'll come back for an anniversary because I just need that to be a period, you know. Because I mean, he said when he left, he said that final episode with Hartnell. He will rewatch some of the Hartnell stories, and he said that it wasn't as good as I remembered it being as a kid. And he said, I wish I hadn't sullied my memory of Hartnell Doctor Who. And he said, like, I need room, you know.
Well,
he said, I don't know if I'll come back for an anniversary.
That is depressing. That's really depressing. But like, I think it's as well, actually. Do you remember when they announced that Peter Capaldi was leaving? I don't know whether you saw the radio broadcast where they announced. It was a BBC Radio 2 thing. He was doing an interview and he says, I'm stepping down. But like the week before, he said that he was, looking forward to staying on with Chris. So I've always had a theory that, Chibnall heard that and went, bye, and then like he had to, just sort of abruptly leave. And I was just like...
I agree, but I also feel like there was a general sense of, like, everything changing.
Oh, yeah, I think
Michelle Gomez was like, all the writers are leaving. Moffat's leaving. And then, of course, like, Peter's leaving. She's like, I want this to be the end for me, too. Because it was this good feeling of it all being...
No, it makes sense.
I would agree. Chibnall probably wanted... He probably wanted that new slate. And he also probably thought... The first time I get to recast a Doctor, I'm making it a woman because that's amazing publicity.
Yeah, but that's the thing as well. Like, in regards to that, it's like it really feels like it was done for publicity these days because like they haven't capitalized on that idea like whatsoever. Like, if realistically, they said in series 11. We wrote the scripts without a actual, gender in mind, so it was very easy to just, change the pronoun, essentially. But I think that is a real missed opportunity when you can finally... Because, like, Missy has her flaws. I think the amount of, like, innuendos Missy, and by extension, I guess, every Moffat character has, is a little bit excessive.
Yeah, but she also, like, apparently ad-libbed a lot of that.
Yeah, I mean, fair enough. But, like, that goes for, like, every Moffat character. But, like, she was unique in her own way. I feel like you could give 13's dialogue to practically any Doctor, maybe with a few changes, and it would not change the stories in many ways. Except for, I don't think that other Doctors would let spiders just die slowly. But, like, other than that, like, I don't think it would change a lot. And I think that says a lot, I think it says a lot that it was purely a marketing thing and they didn't actually think what stories can be told with this. They thought, how much money can we make with this? And I just think that's kind of a scummy way of going about it. Like, obviously I know they think about, brand appeal when they cast these people and stuff like that. But at the same time, there's got to be some sort of, reasoning for it. Like with Colin Baker, like, people rag on that era of the show a lot. But, like, it had a vision, it had an identity, and it had a reason for casting Colin Baker, because he was sort of known for being a bit of a bad guy in his day, and they sort of wanted to capitalise on that and make him a bit more of a morally questionable Doctor. So they had a reason for going in that direction, whereas with this, it's just like they did it because, this will get us likes on Twitter. I don't know whether you've watched The Boys.
I mean, I will say it was what they should have done. It's what I would have done.
I mean, I think there are... I think if you...
But I generally agree that they need to have more of a... They need to do something with it.
I think if you're going to do it...
occasionally having someone be sexist to the Doctor and her being like, man, Yeah, I think that's the most they've done with it, is one episode someone, like, is sexist to her and she goes, oh, that makes me upset. And that's all they've done with the idea.
Yeah, like, I'll be honest, at first, because obviously at the time she was cast, how old was I? Well, this will make you feel old. I'm 17 right now, so when she was cast, I would have been 2017, so it's about, 14, it was about 3 years ago, 14, 15, something like that. I think 15. Mm-hmm. So, I was one of those people who was like, nah, Doctor's a guy, I was one of those people when I was, younger and stuff, but it's like, I don't even think it bothers me anymore, mainly because of Ruth, if anything. Like, Joe Martin convinced me that it can work, more than Jodie Whittaker did, but, like, I think with me, it's like, if you're going to do it, at least do something cool with it. Don't just do it for the sake of doing it, if that makes sense. Like, if I was to write it, I'd have it play into the narrative a bit more, but not in a haha, you're a woman now kind of way, but in more like a, okay, we can actually explore a new side to the Doctor's personality with this, rather than just, oh yes, every so often man will come along, man will be sexist, and that'll be it. I just think there's way more things you can do with it that are interesting. You know, like,
yeah,
even,
I track you. No worries.
yeah, because like obviously, it's one of those things with me. I kind of started out. I've sort of, you know, migrated away, but I started out as one of those militant people who hated all of this, and as slowly over time I've sort of gone, you know, it's more about the writing, and because like politics, I hate politics. Politics are weird, but I kind of got sucked into it when it was announced, if that makes sense. I sort of, because certain people were being promoted a lot, I found myself, because they didn't like it either, I found myself getting drawn to them. But then slowly over time I've managed to go, okay, no, it's not about the politics for me, it's about the writing, it's about the direction, it's about the acting, etc. So that's a bit of origin story for me, which is why I'm not really liked by either, because one side sees me as, oh, you're a sexist, the other side sees me as a traitor to their cause. You know, which is
I've
really
been there, man. Don't worry, I completely understand.
So it's kind of, that's a bit of backstory on me, but that's why I constantly feel strange to a certain extent.
Yeah, no, I can really relate to that plight.
Yeah, you know, it's
weird. I mean, I'm just not excited by the show, and I wish I was.
This is the thing as well. This upcoming episode is going to be, from what we've been hearing and told, like a full-on Dalek invasion to some extent, like something we haven't seen since late RTD. That should elicit some sort of emotion in me, but it just doesn't, and that's depressing. That is really depressing. That like the show's biggest villain is coming back in force, and I just don't care. Also, for the love of God, can we get rid of the Time War designs, please? I'm sick of it. Like the paradigm.
Well, that's what. Did you not know?
They're the Russell T Davies era Daleks. I know this is the problem.
Oh, are they? I didn't know that. I thought an image leaked of a new design.
Oh yeah,
is that a hoax?
No, that was true. But like, I think that's gonna be a one-off because they also show the Time War Daleks in that leak shot.
Oh yeah.
So I think it's gonna be a case of.
That's a budget thing.
That's
the same reason in the Cyberman episode, the Moffat finale, the Doctor Falls. That's the same reason in that episode the Cybermen evolve into props they already had.
But like at least there was like a reason for that. Like in the case of this though, it's probably just going to be. I think what a lot of people have speculated that because of the Dalek in Resolution, humans are going to try and reverse engineer a Dalek robot. And then the real Daleks are going to come along and be like, oh, hell no, exterminate it. I don't know why I made the Daleks really sassy for some reason. And just, I don't know why, but that's not how they are in my head. Yeah, the click, basically. But no, that's basically what people are theorizing. But it's like, oh, we're going to have Time War Daleks again. It's like, get a new design. Like, I know people didn't like the Paradigm, but that's because they weren't given a chance.
Well, you know? I mean... I keep seeing people post recolorings of the Paradigm Daleks, and they look so good.
Yeah,
it's just I agree the Skittles thing didn't work out, but I mean, it became such a viral thing to flag it that they just stopped trying, and it's like that's disappointing.
But like that's the thing. That was the one problem I have with Moffat. What I say one problem. I got a lot of problems with Moffat's writing, but one of the main problems is that as soon as he had any sort of criticism, he'd like backpedal and change directions completely.
Which is not the criticism most people would give. The people who hate him, that's not the first criticism they would give.
No, but you can see where I'm coming from in the sense that, oh, we're going to do these new Daleks. Oh, they look like Teletubbies.
Well, it was also his biggest strength. I mean, because he cast I would say it was the coolest thing about him. And I mean, I think people who call him a sexist pig don't give him credit for this. But, I mean, the fact that he did turn around and be like, you know, Bill was obviously more progressive than some of the Series 11 cast.
Oh, definitely.
Because he said people pointed out that I cast a comfort and thus I don't cast a diversity, and that's right. And so he said this in interviews. He said, so I went out of my way to cast someone who you don't often see on the show. So he had a black female lesbian.
Mm.
So I don't know why I said female lesbian, but
yeah. I
think
get
that's
what you
pretty
mean,
cool.
though, but the thing is with her is that
growing
she
in a
had
sense,
character as
and
well.
he got criticized for being having some transphobic jokes, and then he introduced Missy, who is I mean, in some sense, like a trans icon.
And what we have to remember in regards to that is that I think, Britain generally, from what I understand, because I have transgender friends, it's not. I think that's the one part of political stuff where we're just behind in at least compared to
because all your
States, for
celebrities are transphobic.
Yeah, like J.K. Rowling.
So
the most
J.K. Rowling, who's the one that laughs like a hyena and says the N-word? Ricky Gervais. He's transphobic.
Is he? I didn't know that. I didn't even know. I can't even keep track anymore these days.
Let me do my Ricky Gervais impersonation. So this is my impersonation of some of his tweets. He tweets out shit like, "Oh, why should these men think they won't be women?" That's how he talks and tweets. You still there? Did I kill your ears?
Yeah, just you because I think the sound was so loud that my Discord couldn't handle it, and it just froze for a moment, and I was like, "Oh God, my computer died."
Sorry.
As Quinton's Ricky Gervais laugh killed my computer. Jeez. But no, yeah, it's weird. I've come my sort of thing with it is just let people be people, man. Let people just do what they want. What difference does it make? I just don't get it. It's I'm disabled myself. I just let people get on with their lives. Why do you need to have an opinion? Just let people get on with it, I guess. It's just my stance.
Yeah. Well, we've been on quite a while. I got to make sure this video is right before I post it.
That's all right.
But this has been fun.
It has been very good.
He invited me on, and for some reason, I think you presumed that I wouldn't be able to talk about Doctor Who for an hour and a half. So
no.
We can talk about other stuff first, and then it didn't happen.
Well, no, I think what tends to happen with these is that obviously they get very tangential. So I almost thought that it's probably going to go into a Doctor Who tangent, which it did, which is why I was like, let's get all that other stuff out the way first, so we can just dedicate majority of it to Doctor Who.
It's okay.
Stuff.
I don't have anything else going on in my life apparently.
I mean,
if you like Doctor Who right now, I don't think you're. That's just your taste. I think it's fine.
Yeah, I've always said, nothing against people who like it. It's just as long as you're not a dick about it either way, I really don't mind. As well, I think just, at the end of the day, it is a TV show. There is no need to get so volatile about it, and that goes for either way. If someone says, "Oh, I didn't like that episode," don't immediately start attacking them for it. Same if someone says they like it. I think that's the bottom line. Everyone just needs to chill out. We're just talking about random Doctor Who stuff that doesn't make sense in a podcast that some of you are probably gonna watch and probably take the wrong thing away from. And it's just at the end of the day, we're just talking about a TV show about a guy in a box. It's not that deep. I think that's what I'm trying to say. That's my closing message.
Yeah, I'd agree. I'd agree generally.
That's my closing message. But yeah, I guess, is there anything you want to plug? Not that my audience is particularly big, but is there anything you want to,
Oh yeah, well I mean just check out Quinton Reviews. I think you can find it if you go to youtube.com/Quinton Reviews Kitchen Sinks. No spaces, all lowercase.
Very, very, very cool.
Or you could just, I'd imagine there'd be a link in the description.
Yes, I'll make sure to do that.
Check out my video on Mr. Meaty that I'm literally going to upload now.
Wow.
Okay, yeah, now it's uploaded. I just posted it.
There we go. Well, that was live in the making of behind the scenes Quinton Reviews, I mean, he doesn't always do Doctor Who podcasts in between uploads, I don't think, but but yeah, thank you so much for coming on, man. I really appreciate it. As Quinton said, links will be in the description. Thank you all for watching, and goodbye, and see you later, and all of my catchphrases that I, can't be bothered to say. Thanks for watching, everyone.